Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question before you do anything else, before you scroll past, before your mind races ahead to the next thing on your list, before the noise of the day pulls you back into its current. I want you to actually stop, right here, right now, and be present for what I am about to ask you. Are you tired? Not the surface kind of tired, not the kind that a long weekend or an extra hour of sleep can touch. I mean the other kind, the deep kind. The kind that lives somewhere beneath your ribs, in that quiet place you do not often visit, because visiting it requires an honesty that is sometimes too much to hold. The kind of tired that comes from wanting genuinely, deeply, faithfully wanting, and not yet having. The kind that comes from years of hoping and praying and declaring and writing things down and making promises to yourself in the dark and waking up the next morning to find that the world outside you has not yet caught up to the picture inside you. If that is you, and I believe with everything in me that it is, because people who are fully satisfied with their current reality do not find themselves drawn to messages like this one, then I want you to know something before we go any further. I see you. Not the version of you that shows up on your best days, confident and full of faith and certain that the breakthrough is around the corner. I see the other version too, the one that is still here, still showing up, still watching, still listening, still reaching for something that feels just slightly beyond your fingertips. And I want to tell you that the fact that you are still reaching is not a sign of weakness. It is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is, in the most profound sense I know how to express, a sign that something very right is happening inside you. The desire that will not die is not your enemy. It is your destiny, knocking. But here is what I have come to understand, through years of sitting with this question and watching people transform and watching people stay stuck and wondering what the difference was, what the invisible line was between the ones who broke through and the ones who did not. It is not effort. It is not strategy. It is not even faith in the way most people think about faith, as a kind of spiritual muscle you flex hard enough and long enough until the universe surrenders your blessing. The difference is something more interior than any of that, something that happens not in what you do but in who you believe yourself to be. And that, beloved, is exactly what today is about. Because here is what most people do when they want something. And I say this with tremendous love and the full admission that I have done this myself more times than I care to count. When we want something, when we want healing or a financial reversal or a restored relationship or a new beginning of any kind, we sit down and we make our list. We go to the divine, to whatever name we give to that great intelligent creative force that holds all things together, and we present our requests. We say, here is what I need. Here is my timeline. Here is why it makes sense. And we are sincere. We are earnest. We genuinely believe that if we pray the right way, or affirm the right words, or hold the right frequency long enough, the answer will drop into our lives like a package delivered to the door. And when it does not come, when the answer seems delayed or redirected, or altogether absent, we do not question the method. We question ourselves. We decide we are not faithful enough, not aligned enough, not healed enough, not ready enough. We go back to the drawing board. We try harder. We speak louder. We vision board with greater urgency. And all the while, we are missing the one thing, the single shift that changes not just one area of life, but all of them. The grace that, when received, makes every other thing you have been asking for begin to find its way to you. Not because you worked harder for it, but because you finally became the version of yourself it was always looking for. And what is that grace? What is the one thing worth asking for? The one request that carries within it the seed of everything else you have ever desired. It is resurrection. Not the resurrection of a situation, though that will come. Not the resurrection of a dream, or a relationship, or a bank account, though those too will follow in the wake of this deeper thing. What I am talking about is the resurrection of you, the real you, the original you, The you that existed as a complete and magnificent idea in the mind of the divine before you ever drew your first breath, before the world got its hands on you, before disappointment layered itself over hope, before wrong beliefs calcified into what you call reality, before every closed door and every unkind word and every season of waiting carved small, invisible grooves into the way you think about yourself and what is possible for you. That you is not dead. But for many of us, that you has been in the tomb for a very long time. And today is the day we roll the stone away. Now I want to go deeper here, because I am not interested in beautiful language that leaves you feeling temporarily inspired and permanently unchanged. I want to give you something that actually works, something you can carry out of this moment and into the living of your actual life. So let me be practical with you about what has been happening in that tomb, because understanding the mechanism is half the liberation. Every human being walking the face of this earth is living from a set of beliefs. Not the beliefs they would list if you asked them, the ones they consciously hold and would comfortably defend in conversation. The deeper ones, the ones running silently in the background like a program you installed so long ago you have forgotten it is there. Beliefs about whether the world is fundamentally safe or fundamentally threatening. Beliefs about whether abundance is something that happens to you or something that flows through you. Beliefs about whether you specifically, with your particular history and your particular flaws and your particular set of starting conditions, whether you specifically are the kind of person that good things happen to. And here is the devastating truth that we rarely speak plainly enough. Most people, if they honest, hold the belief, somewhere beneath the affirmations and the declarations and the carefully cultivated optimism, that they are slightly excluded from the best of life. Not completely excluded, just slightly. Just enough that the really extraordinary things, the miraculous reversals, the sudden abundance, the love that actually stays, the health that actually returns, those things happen for other people. People with more faith, more discipline, more favor, more of whatever invisible quality seems to attract the miraculous. And this belief, this subtle, persistent, deeply embedded conviction of slight exclusion, is the stone. That is the stone that has been sitting in front of your tomb, not the circumstances outside you, the belief inside you. Here is why that matters so profoundly. And this is where the mystical and the scientific find each other and embrace, because they have always been talking about the same thing in different languages. There is a mechanism in the human brain, a cluster of neurons in the brainstem, that neuroscientists call the reticular activating system. And its job, its one extraordinary, relentless, tireless job, is to scan your reality and surface the information that matches your existing beliefs and expectations. It is a filter, a reality filter. When you decide to buy a red car, you suddenly see red cars everywhere. They were always there. Your filter simply was not set to notice them. Now apply that to your life. If your deep subconscious belief is that things almost work out for you but not quite, that you always end up on the wrong side of the breakthrough, that blessings come close but never land, your magnificent brain, trying to be genuinely helpful, will filter your daily experience to confirm that belief. It will highlight the evidence for scarcity and minimize the evidence for abundance. It will make the setbacks feel significant and the open doors feel suspicious. It will keep you locked inside what the great metaphysicians called a mental equivalent. A picture in your mind so deeply carved, so repeatedly confirmed, that it simply keeps reproducing itself in your outer world. Not as punishment. Not because the universe has singled you out for difficulty, but because the most fundamental law of existence is this: as within, so without. As the thought, so the thing. As the belief, so the life. And here is the news that deserves every celebration this day has ever known. Laws do not play favorites. They do not have preferences. They do not hold grudges. The same law that has been faithfully reproducing your old picture will, the instant you genuinely change the picture, begin working with precisely equal enthusiasm and precisely equal power to produce the new one. The law does not care which direction it flows, it simply flows. You change the inner image. The outer world must change to match it. Not might. Not eventually if you are lucky. Must. Because it is law. But here is what I need you to hear very carefully, because this is the place where most people's manifestation practice quietly breaks down. You cannot change the inner picture by adding more things to your desire list. You cannot change it by wanting more intensely. You cannot change it by white-knuckling your way through affirmations that your nervous system does not actually believe yet. Positive thinking, layered over a negative foundation, is not transformation. It is decoration. And the universe, which reads frequency rather than surface performance, is never fooled by decoration. What actually changes the picture, what actually moves the stone and calls the buried self back into the light, is the thing this day has always been about. It is resurrection. The willingness to let the old identity die. The small, limiting self. The one built on scarcity and fear and the accumulated weight of every time the world said no. The willingness to let that self stay in the tomb and to step into the new one. The one that was always there underneath it. The one that was the original idea. The one that carries within it the divine blueprint of everything you were created to be, to have, to give, to become. Now I want to give you a picture, because I have always believed that a well-told story travels further into the soul than the finest lecture ever written. Imagine a seed. When you first encounter it, a seed does not look like much. It is small. It is hard. It does not smell like anything you would want in your garden. It does not provide shade, or beauty, or nourishment. If you did not know what it was, you might hold it in your palm and question whether it was worth planting. And here is the remarkable thing, the thing that makes the seed one of the most powerful spiritual metaphors available to us. Before it can become what it was designed to be, it must go into the ground. It must go into the dark. It must surrender its current form entirely. The shell must crack. The outer casing, the thing that was protecting it and giving it its shape and making it recognizable as the thing it currently is, must break open. And everything that looks like destruction is actually preparation. Everything that looks like ending is actually the condition necessary for the beginning. Think about that area of your life that has felt most like a tomb lately, the thing you have prayed about and hoped about and nearly surrendered, the relationship that went quiet, the dream that stopped feeling possible, the financial situation that has not moved despite your best efforts and your deepest faith, the health that has not responded the way you asked it to, the creative vision that feels like it is dying on the vine. I want to ask you something about that thing. What if it is not over? What if what you have been reading as an ending is actually a process? What if the silence is not abandonment but incubation? What if the waiting is not punishment but gestation? Because this is the thing about seeds that we almost always forget. They do not come back as slightly improved versions of the seed. They do not come back as a bigger seed, or a shinier seed, or a seed with better prospects. They come back as something so entirely different, so completely transformed from what they were before they went into the ground, that you could not have predicted the outcome just from examining the original form. They come back as the full expression of everything they were created to be, and no amount of looking at the soil during the dark period would have given you that information. Your situation is not the seed. You are the seed. And the life you are waiting for, the breakthrough you have been declaring, and the abundance you have been claiming, and the healing you have been believing for, those things are waiting for you on the other side of this particular kind of inner transformation. Not the transformation of your circumstances, the transformation of the self who walks through those circumstances, the resurrection of the original you. So let me give you something practical. 3 movements, not steps, because steps imply you perform them once and they are complete. But movements, the way music moves, the way breathing moves, the way anything that is truly alive keeps moving through its phases without arriving at a permanent stop. The first movement is acknowledgement. not dwelling, not a long archaeological excavation of every wound and disappointment you have ever collected. Simply the honest, courageous act of looking at what has been in the tomb. What belief about yourself have you been carrying that was never actually yours to carry? What have you accepted as simply the way things are, that is in fact only the way things have been? What have you called your reality that is actually just a very convincing, very deeply rehearsed habit of thought? Because you cannot resurrect what you have not first acknowledged as buried. The light cannot reach what you have not allowed to come to the surface. And this is where so many people stop before they begin, because looking at the limiting belief directly means admitting it was there, and admitting it was there can feel like admitting defeat. But it is the opposite of defeat. It is the bravest thing you will do today, to stand in front of the belief that has been running your life from the underground and say, I see you. I know what you are. And you are not the truth. Perhaps the belief is that abundance is for other people, people born into different circumstances, with different connections, different educations, different starting points. Perhaps it is the belief that your body has already decided what it will and will not do, and no amount of prayer or intention will override that biology. Perhaps it is the belief that the love you long for is not available to you specifically, that your history is too complicated, your edges too sharp, your need too great. Perhaps, and this one runs deeper and quieter than most, it is the belief that God or the universe or whatever name you use for the great creative intelligence behind all things is primarily occupied with people whose lives are larger and louder than yours, and that your particular ordinary, struggling, trying its best life is somehow beneath the notice of heaven. Whatever the specific content, name it. Let it surface. Let it come into the light. Because you cannot be resurrected from a tomb you refuse to acknowledge you have been living in. The second movement is declaration. And this is where something extraordinary happens, something that sits at the exact intersection of ancient spiritual wisdom and modern neuroscience. And it is this. When you speak a clear, present-tense, first-person statement of spiritual truth, you are not just producing sound. You are not just performing positivity for an audience that may or may not be listening. You are physically, measurably, actually laying down new neural pathways in your brain. You are interrupting the old groove that has been playing the same limiting record for years, and you are scratching a new one. You are giving your reticular activating system new instructions, literally reprogramming the filter through which your brain scans reality. You are doing, in the most practical neurological sense available to us, exactly what the ancients described when they said the universe was spoken into existence. You are speaking a new world into being, word by word, declaration by declaration, present tense, first person, spoken with conviction, repeated until it is no longer a statement of aspiration but a statement of identity. Take the limiting belief you identified in the first movement, the one that has been in the tomb, and now declare its opposite. Not as a wish, not as a prayer for something that might happen if circumstances align, as a present tense spiritual fact. Not someday abundance will find me, but infinite supply flows to me now, in perfect ways, through channels I cannot yet see but absolutely trust. Not I hope my body will heal, but divine life expresses itself as perfect wholeness in every cell of my body right now. Not I wish love were possible for me, but I am deeply and fully loved. I circulate love. Love meets me in ways so surprising and so perfectly designed that I will look back on this moment and marvel at how precisely the universe arranged it. Does it feel strange to say these things? Good. Strangeness is exactly what it feels like when a new groove is being cut. Discomfort in the face of a declaration you do not yet fully believe is not evidence that the declaration is false. It is evidence that your nervous system is updating. It is the feeling of the stone beginning to move. The third movement is the action of faith. And I want to be very specific here, because this is the movement most people skip entirely, which is precisely why most people do not experience the transformation they are reaching for. The action of faith is not the dramatic, all-or-nothing leap that makes for an inspiring story but terrifies your nervous system into complete shutdown. It is the small, immediate, concrete thing you do today, right now, in the life you currently have, that says, I believe this is already real, even though the evidence has not fully appeared yet. I am going to act from the truth of my declaration, rather than the appearance of my current circumstances. If you are declaring abundance, do one thing today that comes from a consciousness of sufficiency rather than scarcity. Give something away, not because you have excess, but because you trust that the source is infinite and that what flows out through you creates space for more to flow in. Buy someone's coffee. Leave a generous tip when you did not feel like you could afford to. Drop something in the offering that says to the universe, I am not operating from a closed, limited system. I am operating from an open one. And watch what happens. Not because the coffee or the tip or the offering is the magical transaction that unlocks the breakthrough, but because the act itself changes your internal frequency. It moves you from the energy of scarcity, which closes channels, to the energy of abundance, which opens them. If you are declaring health, do one thing today that treats your body as if it is already moving toward wholeness. Not a dramatic overhaul of everything. One walk, one good meal, one extra glass of water. One moment of genuine gratitude for a body that has, against considerable odds, continued to carry you through this life, because the action of faith closes the circuit. It is what says to the universe, I am not merely thinking this new thing. I am living it. I am embodying it. I am walking in the reality of it before my outer world has caught up. And that combination, the clear inner image, the aligned spoken word, and the corresponding outward action, is quite simply one of the most unstoppable forces available to a human being. Now, I want to speak to something that I know is in the room, because it is always in the room when conversations like this one reach their most hopeful point. Someone is thinking, but you do not know what I have been through. You do not know the specific weight of my particular situation. You do not know how many times I have tried this. How many declarations I have made. How many mornings I have gotten up and chosen faith and gone to bed feeling like it made no difference. You are right. I do not know the specific texture of your pain, or the exact shape of your waiting, or the particular way that hope has been deferred in your life until it began to feel like hope itself was the problem. And I would never minimize that or pretend otherwise. But I do know this. The law of resurrection, this fundamental principle by which buried things return and sealed tombs open and what appears finished discovers it was only resting, does not have an exceptions clause. It does not say this principle applies to everyone who has been through moderate difficulty, but not to those who have been through the really hard things. The nature of resurrection is that it happens after the most thorough death. The more complete the apparent ending, the more dramatic the new beginning. That is not consolation. That is not something I am saying to make you feel better in the short term. That is principle. That is the consistent testimony of every person who has ever been brought through an impossible situation to an improbable outcome. And I also know this. The very fact that you are here, reading this, engaging with this message, tells me something essential about you. It tells me that something inside you refuses to stay buried. That despite everything, despite however many times the circumstances have argued against the hope you keep bringing back to the surface, something in you is still reaching, still asking, still believing, however faintly, that there might be a word out there somewhere with your name on it. That reaching is not desperation. It is not the last gasp of someone who has run out of options. That reaching is the life force inside you, the original, divine, inextinguishable spark that was placed in you before the world got its hands on you, pressing up against the stone, asking you, gently and persistently, and with infinite patience, to push. So push today, not because you have everything figured out, not because you feel ready, not because all the circumstances have aligned to make it feel safe and reasonable and logical. Push because this is the day that stones get rolled away. Push because the version of you that has been in that tomb has been in there long enough. Push because the thing you want wants you back. And the life that is waiting for you on the other side of this particular threshold of belief is so much larger and more luminous than the life you have been settling for inside the tomb that if you could see it fully right now, it would take your breath away. Here is a truth that I want you to carry with you. One of the most quietly revolutionary things I know about how life actually works. The desire and the fulfillment are created together. You do not have a genuine, persistent, soul-level desire for something that is not, in some real sense, already yours. The picture that lives in your heart is not a fantasy designed to torment you. It is a preview. It is a signal. Think of a radio. The signal is already in the air. It does not appear when you turn on the radio. It does not get created by your desire to hear music. It is already there, broadcasting continuously, waiting to be received. The radio does not make the music exist. It simply tunes to the frequency where the music already is. You are the radio. Your inner state, your beliefs, your declarations, your corresponding actions, those are your tuning dial. And the life you are reaching for, the abundance, the healing, the love, the expression, the meaning, it is already broadcasting. It is already in the air. The only question is whether you are tuned to the frequency where it exists. This is not magical thinking. This is not naive optimism for people who have not yet experienced how hard life can be. This is the consistent operating principle behind every person who has ever built something extraordinary from what appeared to be nothing. They held a picture. They spoke that picture. They acted from that picture before the picture appeared in physical form. And then, often quite suddenly, and in ways they could not have predicted or engineered, the outer world rearranged itself to match the inner one. Because it always does. Because it always has. Because it always will. This is not a trend. This is not a technique from a self-help book. This is a law, and laws do not take days off. So here is what I want to leave you with. What I want to be the thing you carry out of this moment, and into the rest of your day, and the rest of your week, and the rest of the magnificent unfolding story of your life. Today is not just a day. Today is a cosmic confirmation of the principle by which your entire existence operates. Today is the universe demonstrating, in the most vivid and unambiguous terms available, that nothing is beyond redemption. Nothing is beyond renewal. Nothing is so completely finished that the divine cannot find within it the seed of an entirely new beginning. The tomb is empty. Do you understand what that means for you, personally, in the specific details of your one precious life? It means your past does not have final authority over your future. It means the verdict that your current circumstances appear to have pronounced on your situation is not the last word. It means the story is not over. It is in fact just arriving at the part where everything that appeared to be falling apart is revealed to have been falling together. The one grace, the only thing truly worth asking for today, is the grace to see yourself the way the divine sees you. Not the limited, waiting, still hoping, but not quite believing version, the original version, the intended version. The fully designed, completely equipped, abundantly supplied, magnificently destined version. The one that was the thought in the mind of God before you ever arrived in this world. The one that nothing you have done or failed to do, nothing that has been done to you, no circumstance and no season and no collection of evidence to the contrary can permanently erase. That version is not somewhere you have to get to. It is who you already are, underneath the layers, underneath the fear and the waiting and the quiet resignation that you dressed up as acceptance. It is pressing against the stone right now, asking you to push. Ask for the eyes to see it. Ask for the ears to hear the truth that has been spoken over your life since before you were born. Ask for the courage to speak it out loud, in the present tense, with the full authority of a soul that has decided, finally and completely, to stop agreeing with its limitations. And then do one thing, one small, concrete, loving action today that says, I believe this is real. I am walking in it now. I am already on the other side of the stone. Write down the one thing you are declaring resurrected today. One dream, one desire, one area of your life where you are choosing, in this moment, to stop calling the current appearance the final truth. Name it. Speak it. Because there is extraordinary power in the moment when the invisible becomes visible in words. The moment you articulate a desire with conviction, it moves from the realm of wish into the realm of declaration, and declarations have a creative force that wishes never could. You are the author of this story. You have far more power over the narrative than you have been living as though you have. And starting today, starting right now, in this breath, with this heartbeat, you get to write a different chapter. One that begins, I am alive. I am awake. I am fully, finally, gloriously, myself. The stone is rolled away, and everything that was waiting on the other side of it, every good and perfect thing that was always designed for me, is already on its way. Under grace, in perfect ways, at exactly the right time, through channels I trust completely even when I cannot yet see them, my good is coming. My good is here. My good is me, the real me standing in the light of my own resurrection, ready at last to receive everything that was always, always mine. Go live like it, starting now.